cost savings.
Right.
Is there? Yes, I agree. It's gonna be a number. I just don't know if it's the number that you're hoping to
Right.
find. You know, any number is worth finding, but I just don't know it's as much as we hope it is.
And I know it'd be difficult to get competing bids because in a lot of these cases, it's only one or two companies in the industry doing this.
The
And
lat-
they travel throughout
The
the
ladder,
area. and they-
ladder testing
Right.
companies.
Right. There's one in Old Lyme, right?
There is one in Old Lyme. He just came
He's
back
not
in
related.
business. He was actually, the company started in Salem, he went out of business,
Mhm.
a new company bought that business,
Mhm.
and they're in Old Lyme now.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
Maybe
So
we could
that
get a good
really
neighbor
there's-
discount or something.
there's- But yeah, there's only two
Yeah,
companies that are gonna test.
Right. So it's tough to come in with 3 bids and have them competing against
they
one
don't even
another.
exist,
You know, and
right.
we are still talking nickels and dimes here. It's not
And
big
again,
us.
and again, hey, if I can,
Right. Right.
if I can save the nickel, it saves me on the gas side, you know,
Right. No question.
I can go buy another radio.
I hear you. Any other questions?
No.
Comments from Mrs. Johnson?
Good.
And Chief, you all set?
I am
We
happy.
appreciate what you do.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Emergency management, that's Mr. Morris. Department 224.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Dick. This is Mr. Morris, everyone. This is the guy that runs our EOC when times are tough. It keeps me up to speed when we're having blizzards, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on up there. Thank you, Dick, for all that you do.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Well, I could start off, I think.
Okay. Appreciate that. Ms. Hardy.
I believe that last year we authorized an additional full-time dispatcher, or
No,
the year before.
been a couple of years.
Okay. And so that would have brought you to 4
Right,
full-time,
right.
and,
That still reflects in this budget.
right. So I see here that you have listed the 2 full-time dispatchers for Monday through Friday. And then your request this year is for an additional full-time,
That's correct.
the 5th. How has that worked out with the 4 full-time dispatchers?
It works very well. We're getting to a point now with the number of police calls hitting 18,000 incidences. And when you look at that as 18,000 incidences, it doesn't account for the task that each dispatcher has to do. So our daytime person is extremely busy, and that was the request for the 5th dispatcher to put that person in that location on a 7 to 3 shift. So you'd have 2 from 7 to 3 and 2 from 3 to 11, 1 at midnight.
So right now, the breakdown is what?
1 during the day, 2 evenings, and 1 on the midnight shifts.
Now, we had somebody, a full-time dispatcher leave this year.
That's correct, and
Did
we've been
we-
filling that with part-timers. And the reason being is because of the uncertainty of where dispatch is going to end up by regionalization or whatever the case may be. And also the fact that because of the budget issues that we've had with the backfilling of guaranteeing the first and third shift with backfill with overtime, we would be in the red pretty heavily by utilization of having 4 full-time dispatchers there. It's going to get filled once we decide where we're going to go in length of period of time of whether 171 Boston Post Road is going to continue in operation or it's going to move to another location.
But this has been almost a full year, right?
Absolutely, but it's been 2 years that I've been being told that we were going to move.
But I think the intent of this board was that there be 4 full-time individuals.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
that was what we voted for and supported. I'm not sure that a part-time is
Adequate?
is adequate or as efficient.
Well, I don't know. I would like to argue that, but I mean, you take one of those part-timers and you, on Monday and then Tuesday afternoon, you make them a full-timer, they're the same person. So they're pretty adequate, well-trained. I think they do a pretty good job. And once I get a good direction of where we're going, I'd be more than happy to replace that person.
Well, the reason that I'm questioning this is that you're asking for one additional full-time, and yet the 4 full-time that we've approved, you're filling one of those positions with part-time. So why not continue with that instead of going with another full-time?
Because at some point, I think that you get into an issue with the unions and so forth of covering that with part-time people. I've been able to do it now because of the uncertainty and the budget issues that we have. As you see, that we've asked for additional hours to fill the vacation and leave time that we have with shifts with backfilling, so.
And so would that be the reason for the increase in this year's budget for the shift differential?
Shift differential is a yearly contractual issue. I have nothing to do with that.
But in 2014, it was $1,100. This year, it's $4,000 and something.
That's a contractual issue. Shift differential has never been part of my issue. Anna maybe could answer that.
Well, I thought that was what you were just saying to me about the part-timers.
No.
All right, then I mixed the things.
Yeah.
I-
Shift differential is their longevity and length of period of time
Right.
that the 3 full-timers have been working. They get that per their contract.
Okay, and I had an additional question. The communications officer, who holds that position?
Bill Covey,
Okay, so that's when okay, I know
that's
now
an
what that
EOC
is.
function.
I know now what that is. I wasn't making the connection. For when you have the drills and things?
Correct.
Okay.
And he maintains all the ham radio equipment, the rooms, the testing, maintenance on that, all that equipment.
I think I'm all set.
Thank you. I think some of the reason why, again, we were holding off on, or Mr. Formica was holding off on the 4th, or asking for Dick to hold off. He had the money, and he did have the approval of this board to go ahead with the 4th dispatcher, filling it with part-time now, because it made good business sense. It was good, prudent, business-minded sense to not hire somebody that we'd have to lay off later or try to find a job at another dispatch center. I'm coming to the end of talking about the dispatch, the regionalization. It's a file that was left on my desk. I'm doing my homework, my research, talking to people. I have actually 3 meetings tomorrow on the very subject, and I think we'll come to some swift resolution on what to do short term.
Well, I really think that should have come back to this board.
It will. Oh,
No,
there's-
but we approve for 4 full-time
Okay.
people. And I think that if there was going to be a change in the policy, then, and that was a policy decision, then I think that should have come back to the board, that for a year, we were going to work with part-timers. I know that
Perhaps.
wasn't your decision, it's
Right.
just my comment.
Perhaps it should have. I know that you're covering the 4th dispatcher with part-timers, so we do have that extra body in the seat that we did approve. Now-
One of the things that we're not doing is doing heavily overtime. When a part-timer books off because they have to work in another firehouse, or they have to work in a dispatch center someplace else, or because of storms, I haven't been filling that with overtime.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
On the,
question.
with going to 4 from 5, we're still at 15%. Is that just salary? What's the 15.4%?
For the
Driver.
part-time dispatchers.
15.4,
Yeah, the
that's
54%.
part-time dispatchers, that's the weekends that are covered from midnight on Saturday morning through Sunday at 11 p.m. That's covered.
But why is there a difference from the budget last year? That much of a difference?
Isn't, we
Just trying to
huge
find the
bump.
driver of that.
About a 19,000.
He's talking about,
Yeah, line 213.
last year you spent 122, this year's budget.
Is that because you're filling with part-timers the full-time position that hadn't been filled, Dick?
Could be.
But then the dispatcher, line 212 should be reduced. Well,
Right.
it kind of is.
It is.
It's 0.74% instead of, 5%, 3%, whatever it would be.
So that's all.
Didn't
So
really
it's
go
going
up.
down on one, up on the other,
Yeah.
so that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, and since that other line item is smaller, it looks like a higher increase. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Dick and or Anna, if we pulled the plug tomorrow and said, let's just hire the fourth full-timer, what kind of cost, how would that affect the budget? Would
Wouldn't
there be an
really help.
increase?
Well, actually, in the current year's budget, we budgeted for the fourth dispatcher.
For the four, right.
And so it's, about a $52,000 salary
Right.
for the year, so,
And right now,
We're-
that money is going to part-timers, essentially, because you're filling the shift that we did approve.
so really, in the current budget, the part-time account, we're expending it at a higher rate than we would otherwise be if we had the fourth dispatcher. But the dispatcher account's being expended at a lower rate than it
Right.
would be if we had that dispatcher.
There'd be a
So-
benefits charge,
And then the benefits, yeah.
and all that goes along with full-timers, the time off and covering the shifts and all that stuff, right? Okay.
No questions.
No questions, Kevin?
I'm very good.
All set. Mr. Morris, thank you for your service to this
Thank you.
town.
Thank you.
Continued success, please. There's one left standing, or sitting, and now standing. Sergeant Blanchett, the police department budget. Budget 216, folks. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening.
Blanchett.
How are
Thanks
you?
for sticking around tonight.
Yes, sir.
We've had a little movement on this budget today. I don't think everything has been updated yet. The governor came out with his budget today, and though we're not sure where that's going to end up, that discussion, but there was talk about the resident state trooper program being fully funded by the towns. Right now, they're funded at about a 70% rate. So we would see a massive increase in the resident state trooper line, 115, to somewhere probably north of 200,000. But tonight, these are the facts that we're being presented with. And there was also did you make that change that we talked about this morning?
No, I did not.
Okay, maybe you should go through that first, that one
Okay.
line, and we wanted to make that change, right?
Okay, so if you look at the account 511 police officers, you'll notice there's an 11.3% increase. Today, Sergeant Blanchett and I went over the roster and found that I also included Mr. Smith in that roster when I should not have, so
Mr. Smith has since retired.
he's
Retired.
retired,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I had still included him on the roster when we were building the budget. So that would be a $64,605 reduction that we would be able to make.
That would bring that percentage down to the 6 range, wasn't it? Or, no, can't reduce it that much.
It would be 6.69%.
6.69%.
So the
Okay.
revised amount would be $1,496,425.
Could you give me that again, Ann? 1
Okay.
million?
The revised amount will be $1,496,425. The reduction is $64,605.
Was that the total amount of his salary?
No, it
And
was not.
benefits?
It was not.
Okay.
His salary was actually $68,000. The reason for the $64,000 reduction is in the very near future, I understand we'll be having 2 new sergeants.
Right.
So I had to do the salary differential for the promotion of 2 officers to sergeant.
Well, I wouldn't anticipate that we could save his full salary because part of the duties that he was doing, the hours that he was filling, aren't those going to have to be picked up by someone else?
We recently have our newest hire who was out of the academy right before Christmas, has another 2.5, 3 weeks of field training, and then he's off on his own, and he'll be picking up that spot.
And that's been budgeted, right?
Yes, sir.
From what I read.
That's correct.
What they basically mean is they added.
Right, I understand that, but I thought that that was just the extra officer that we had planned to add.
Well, we didn't add another officer. We're now that Officer Smith is retired, we're actually one up because he was out on extended leave for an injury.
Oh, that's right.
So when we hired this new lad, he's like I said, we've got another 2.5, 3 weeks, and he's on his own. So.
Is this the officer that's going to be the community service officer?
No, he's just a regular patrol officer. I have Officer Gene Kavanaugh filling that role of community service officer now.
Okay. So that's not necessarily a new hire, that's just...
That's not going to be a new hire. That's
Okay.
just kind of reallocating people.
I noticed on line 221 radio maintenance, it seems to be a common theme here tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you give us an explanation why?
The
So-
radios that we have now, not the town radios, but the state radios, many of them are 15, 16 years old. They're falling into various states of disrepair to the point where 2 of them that I sent back for repair, they don't even make the parts for them anymore. And I had to purchase new radios at a tune of $3,900 a piece for handheld portable radios and about $4,200 a piece for the mobiles. As we're replacing our cars with the capital improvement money, we're putting in new radios already. So the radios that we have now, the state radios that we have now, I'm getting with a 3-year warranty. So basically, if anything happens, it's fully covered. However, the majority of the radios are, like I said, they're older, especially the portable radios.
How many do you anticipate with this budget line you'll be able to replace this year?
Depends on how long you stay with the resident trooper program. This is going to be money that is going to be put aside just for repairs. I'll probably buy 2 portables. As I said, it was a cost of $3,800 a piece for the portables. The 2 new radios, or the 2 new vehicles that we have, came with new state radios, so I'm not going to touch that. But I do need the money in case we have to replace anything else.
For the record and for the new selectmen, we have to go eventually. There's a date written down on some calendar somewhere that we have to change all our radios over.
It's kind of a fluid date. The last I know, they're talking, and I'm going to speak way over my head, and I apologize. Something about the bandwidth. The radios that we carry now are on a certain bandwidth. The state is coming out with a new digital trunking system, which is using the same frequency but different bandwidth. It takes considerably less bandwidth, and it's more efficient. And again, I'm way over my head when I talk about radios, but there's going to be some type of drop-dead date within the next 2 years where they're going to expect every town that's operating in a resident trooper program to change all their radios. All the new ones that we're buying for the cars and the new portables that I've recently bought are all going to be compatible with that new system. There's probably going to be more than 50% of the radios, if you're still with the program in 2 years, that we're going to have to replace, and it's probably going to cost about $130,000 to $150,000 if you do
And
that.
that'd be a capital expense.
Okay. I'm an electrical engineer, I completely understood that.
Sorry, thank
So
you.
thank you.
Sergeant, those staying on the radios, the ones that you are buying, and should we not continue with the resident state trooper program, those will still be usable locally.
I don't know that they'd be usable here, but I think Motorola, when I talked to the Motorola rep, they would take them back.
Okay.
But I don't know that, with your own radio system here, with the system that Mr. Morris has right now, I think that would be a sufficient standalone system. I don't know, and again, speaking way
Yeah,
over my head with
I
radios,
understand.
I don't know what use the town would have for those radios.
Okay, you don't just switch the channel and
Not
we
that,
can
not,
talk.
not that I'm,
Not that
I
easy.
know, and that's, you can say it's way above my
Way.
pay grade. Thanks, just a little bit of information there. Other questions? Want to come down the line, Mrs. Hardy?
519, the grant overtime, the reimbursement.
Yes, ma'am.
In the past, as you noted in your comments, we have done that through the town meeting process. Your suggestion is we put it in the budget. My question is, if this is in the budget and we don't get the grant money, are we obligated to come up with that money?
I would tell you right now, if we don't get if it's in the budget and we don't get the grant money, whatever the town matches is going to go back. You're not going to be obligated to me or to anybody to fund the entire portion of it. We go under the auspices that we're going to be getting that 70% from the federal DOT. If we don't get it, we don't get it. Typically, we get it every year. The only difference with putting it in the budget is by the time we get it to a town meeting, the grant has already run 2 or 3 months. It's already been going by the time we get it to a town meeting. So we're missing out on 2 or 3 months of basically free money from the federal government. If we put it in the budget, once the grant application goes in, we get approved, we can start working off the grant right away.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, Mrs. Hardy?
No.
I believe there's many places in our budget where there's a revenue balance with expenses and revenue that operates the same way. LoSiP funds would be a prime example that we have it. We show it in our budget, but there's a revenue
That's correct, yes.
entry on the revenue side of things. So this would be similar to that, correct?
Yes. If I just might point out to the board, remind you that during this fiscal year, you authorize using approximately $9,500 from the contingency account for the police department to purchase some the portable radios that Sergeant Blanchett was referring to. It was earlier in the fiscal year.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna, do you have a new number for the total for the public safety police
Well, I'll
department?
take care of my
Percent?
question, so.
Is that what you're going to ask?
Yes.
Okay. We have 8.55% in a number of 2.3 million.
So it would be $2,267,725, 5.54% increase.
Thank you.
We good there? Anything else, Ken?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Cheeseman?
No, the only question I had was on the training, and you explained it in your note that you're now being charged.
Everything
for-
goes, yeah. The state's charging us for everything now.
Well, that's how they say they haven't raised taxes.
So they haven't raised taxes, they're
Exactly.
just getting it from different
Different
places.
goes
Just the fees, yes.
So, but everything else is, except for the contractual raises. You'll see the uniform line item went up a little bit. That was contractual as well. That's in the latest contract that the police union just agreed on with the town. So basically, everything else is bare bones, stays the same.
And line 320 miscellaneous supplies covers
Everything.
everything that's not included
Yes,
elsewhere.
ma'am. We use the town contract for getting paper, office supplies. That also, we use that to get fingerprinting supplies, latent fingerprint supplies, equipment, crime scene tape, anything that we may need, drug, narcotic test kits, things of that nature. That all comes out of that one big general fund.
Okay, and you say for the office supplies and things like that, you're going through with the town?
With the town, yes,
purchasing
ma'am.
process. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Other questions?
No.
Anna, anything to add?
As far as the reduction that we talked about in the police officer's account, do you want to take an action to make that reduction this evening, or will you just make any and all changes to the budget all at one time?
We might make it at the end of the evening, we might make it all at the
Oh,
end. At
okay.
the end, we usually do it,
Okay.
and that's been last couple of years past practice. Sergeant Blanchett, anything to add?
Nope.
I do. I commend you and your department on everything that you do. I've been able to experience and observe firsthand, and this town is much appreciated.
Thank you very much, sir.
Especially in the most recent activity, the unauthorized withdrawal from the Citizens Bank.
Yeah.
Very excellent work on you
Yeah.
and
I
your
was
department on
gonna
that
say
one.
Well, thank you very much.
That's what we call
Thank you.
unauthorized withdrawal.
I will call for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Folks, we have a town meeting starting in 5 minutes or so. If y'all stick around and help us out with that.
What do we do during the town meeting? We don't-